Hello and welcome to our section on special parallelograms, and all of these guys are parallelograms that are up here. So first we probably ought to define what a parallelogram is, and just to remind us what they are. And when we talk about a parallelogram, basically we need to remember that there are it's four-sided, so a quadrilateral, and it has two pairs of parallel sides. Got ahead of myself there. Two pairs of parallel sides. And so when we look at these guys down here, you need to look for those four sides and parallel sides also. So you can see that in a rhombus, it's a parallelogram with four congruent sides. So the pairs of parallel sides would be these guys along with those guys. So you can still see that it fits that. It just has all four sides the same. So it's a little more specific. Down here, it's a rectangle is a parallelogram with four right angles. So you can see my four right angles, and you can see the top would be parallel to the bottom, and the two sides will be parallel to each other also. So you can see how I'm marking them. And then finally, a square. A square is a combination of a rhombus and a rectangle. It not only has four congruent sides, but it has four right angles, and by definition, since it is a parallelogram, then the opposite sides would be parallel also, and it's four-sided. So there we go. That's our definitions of our special quadrilaterals. And then I wanted to show you that our family tree of quadrilaterals. So we have quadrilateral, just any four-sided shape, and it's broken down into three different branches. We talked about the trapezoid. The trapezoid's over here. It has one pair of parallel sides, so that's these guys over here, one pair. And so then there is the trapezoid, and with the trapezoid there's the isosceles trapezoid. And then underneath one of the other branches is the kite. This guy has no parallel sides, and we have the consecutive pairs of congruent sides, and there's stuff to deal with the diagonals that we talked about in class. And then we have our parallelogram group, and our parallelogram group is kind of more like a circle, because the parallelogram, we have a rhombus that is basically a parallelogram with four congruent sides. We have a rectangle, which is also a parallelogram with four right angles, and if we were to squish the rhombus and the rectangle together, we get a square because it has four congruent sides and four right angles. So in this case, when we have a square, if we go up, a square is always a rectangle and a parallelogram. A square is also always a rhombus and a parallelogram, which also falls in the quadrilateral category. So as you go up, it's an always. As you go down, it's a sometimes. Because when you have a parallelogram, it's sometimes a rhombus when all four sides are the same. So if you have all four sides the same, then it's a rhombus. If you have all four right angles, it becomes a rectangle. And if all four sides are the same and all four angles are right angles, then it is a square. That's the only time it is. Otherwise, it's just opposite sides are parallel, makes it a parallelogram. So we're just kind of trying to figure out how these go. So if you are at a square level, you are a rectangle, you are a rhombus, you are a parallelogram. But when you're a rectangle, you're only a square when you have four congruent sides. So if it doesn't have four congruent sides, yes, you are still a rectangle, but you're not necessarily a square. Okay, so that's kind of the way this works, and it works the same with trapezoid. If you're a trapezoid, if you have one pair of parallel sides, you're only an isosceles trapezoid when you have two congruent sides. The sides are the same. If you are an isosceles trapezoid, you're always a trapezoid. All right, so that's kind of the way it works for that too. So if you have any questions about this, please come to class prepared to ask them, and I look forward to seeing you guys in class.